It's fine.
Welcome to the Colecast. This is our first episode of 2024 and our first remote guest. I'm here with the incredible, the amazing Zack Herberholz. Welcome.
Wow.
We're going to be talking today about your classes, your processes, how you've become the man you are today, and why. We're going to be here a while. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Got a full cup of coffee.
All right. So we were talking before the beautiful opening scene about, Evan, you want me to talk more about the remote guests, or was that sufficient?
That was good enough.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. He'll snip that out. We were talking before we got started about quantity versus quality, kind of.
No, we weren't.
In a way, kind of depth, and things.
Yep.
And so you made a comment that you were self-appointed unemployable. And is it doing that automatically?
Yeah. You can't do the thumbs up.
I can't do a thumbs up.
It's going to catch you.
It automatically...
I don't know why it does.
Does it do it?
It's fine on my end.
Oh, my God.
There's your entrance right there.
Good Lord.
Fantastic.
You were saying you were unemployable and that you were
Yes.
miserable. You had folled the circuit. You went and
No,
got
I think
the
I'm
degree.
still unemployable.
Well, sure. You employed yourself.
Yes. I did everything the way you're supposed to do. I went to college multiple times. I went to school for engineering and I was at the top of my, long story short, like the system failed me. And that's not like a woe is me thing. It ended up being positive, but it had to get really, really dark before it got better. So in hindsight, it's one of those things where I'm like, wow, I'm glad it went that way, but it revealed a lot of, at the time it was no fun. So I spent, I don't know, however old, I think I was about 20. I don't know. I was in my early 30s or something like that when I just decided I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't work for anybody. Every job I've ever had, I was miserable in, and it just wasn't stimulating, and just spend the entire day looking at the clock and being like 15 minutes until lunch, and whatever. And it's I couldn't live like that. I tried. I really did. And I hit rock bottom, and I was like, I got to do something because I don't enjoy being alive. And that was when I quit my job and started doing things that made me happy. And now I am a completely different person, and I never, ever in a million years would have expected that I'd be doing what I'm doing now and have the resources and have had the success in the means that I have. So
when that transition happened and you left your job and moved into working for yourself, did you have a clear plan and path forward, or were you kind of stumbling around for a while? Like, what did that look like?
Sort of. So I kind of faded out. Like, I was working full time, and it's hard to believe. Like, it doesn't even sound real when I remember how hard I worked and how much I put into it at the time to get things going. It doesn't even seem, I don't even think I'm capable of that much like drive again. Like, I don't know if I could do it again. I was working a full-time job, and I would imagine that most people like you probably have, I don't know. I mean, I know a little bit of your story, but I would imagine there's a period where you're like, holy crap, I can't believe that I did this.
Yep.
So I was working a full-time job, coming home, working until 2-3 in the morning, getting a few hours, 3-4 hours of sleep, and to get that going. And then eventually I was able to go down to part-time. And then at some point, the scariest part was when I quit. So I had enough, of dipping my toe in the water to know that I wasn't going to, freeze to death as soon as I got in. But it was still terrifying, and as far as the plan goes, it was, it started out when I took this job. I was working for Harley. I thought, okay, well, if I play my cards right, maybe in a year or two I can go to part-time, and a year or two after that I can go to full-time. That was my goal. I was out the door in 6 months.
Really?
So it was incredible. And it was a point in my life where I was not going to I hate this kind of talk, because I'm not one of those, like, wake up at 4 and punch yourself in the groin and take a ice bath. I'm not one of those people, but, the amount of like work that I put into it to get it off the ground, that was my only way out mentally. Right. It was the only way I was going to have a life that I wanted to live, was if I was making the decisions. And the only way to make that happen is just to really push as hard as you can. So I did that, and it paid off. So,
so in that process, what came first? Was that when you started your YouTube channel? Was that later? So it started out, and I started out doing more basic metal fab stuff, and then got into woodworking, and then kind of combined the two. And that was when I had my success, was when I was, or I'll say that's when I was relevant. There was a time where I was very relevant on YouTube, like 2017, 2018. Yeah. Those days are gone. But it was when I was kind of mixing like metal fab and woodworking, and doing like industrial furniture, when that was kind of a new and upcoming thing. But wow, what was your question? When was your path forward out of your corporate position YouTube, or were you doing the work and decided to start filming it?
So I was doing work. It started out with me making some things. It started out kind of testing the water. The first time I went to college, I went for automotive science. I did like chassis fabrication and that sort of stuff. That's where I like learned basic fabrication skills, and that kind of lied dormant for a while. I was going to school for electrical engineering. Took a summer off, bought a welder, because we finally had a house that had a little garage on the side. And I bought a welder. I'm like, I'll just make some lamps and some odds just to kind of refresh things. And I had some friends that were like, hey, I want to buy one of those. I was like, really? Okay. And this is before there was like many resources on this kind of stuff on the internet. So I was like, wow, this is crazy. People want to buy this. And then somebody said, you should put some of this stuff in commission shops. So that was my next step, was getting work in, or consignment, I should say, a consignment shop. So, and then beyond that, those consignments, people would buy those, and then those people would commission me for more work, and then they would kind of tell their friends. And the power of like word of mouth networking is unbelievable. And that was sustaining for me. And then I decided, this was before, again, like being an influencer was a thing. That I was aware of. So I just thought, how cool would it be if I were to record this stuff? I'd seen some of Jimmy DiResta's videos. Like this is very early on, when he was just getting into it, when he was still in like New York. I saw some of his stuff, and I was like, this is cool. Like maybe I'll like record these commissions that I'm doing for these people and condense them down into like a 5-6 minute long video. That way they have them. They can see like their furniture being built, and they can show it to their friends or whatever. I thought that'd be kind of cool. So I did that, and that was my goal. I didn't care about views. It was like, hey, here's me building your table. And then it just started kind of going viral. And that's when things kind of changed for me, from doing the work to doing the social media aspect of it. And it was really, I worked hard, but it was really easy back then for an influencer, before that was something that everybody aspired to be. Cause there's maybe like 5 or 6 of us out there doing it. And you talk to a company. You're on the
escalator at that point. You're getting dragged up by the system, basically.
And it was so easy. Like I could put a video of me tying my shoes, and it would get like 60,000 views on YouTube. It was amazing. And it was nice. I got some great partnerships with some companies. I worked with Lincoln Electric, and there's a couple of companies that I'm still working with. And that just really opened the door, and it was a new frontier. There was there was not a whole lot of people doing this. And so we all knew each other and that sort of thing. And then it kind of turned into a job, another job that I didn't want to work, because the reason that I got into all of this is because I was not happy trying to fill out a spreadsheet. Like every job I've ever had, it's like everything I do goes on a spreadsheet of some sort, whether literally or figuratively. How many widgets can you make in this amount of time? How many customers did you serve? How many add-ons did you get? How many insurance policies? Whatever it is, whatever industry you're in. Yeah. Well, at least all the ones I've had, and I've had a lot of jobs, you are not valued for your contributions. You're valued for numbers and everything is cold and calculated, and it's accounting. And I don't ever want anything I do to go on a spreadsheet. I don't want it to be about a number. I don't want it to be about, that's just not how I want to live my life. And then, so this is what was so amazing to me about being able to do this for a living is I'm like, man, I get to go out into the shop every day, listen to whatever music I want to listen to, be in my own head, like drink as much coffee as I want. And just like, there's no boss. It's like when the parents leave when you're like 13, like that was my life. I'm like, this is like all mine for a couple hours. That's the life I want to live. And nothing's off limits. I can like just duck out whenever and go do whatever I want. So as the YouTube thing changed and now I had all sorts of competition, I stopped wanting to be competitive. It was never about that. It was never about getting more views or tricking the algorithm or like having the right thumbnail. And it just turned into this weird thing that wasn't why I got into it. I fell into it on accident and it was fantastic. It was pure luck. There are so many people out there that are so much more talented than I am. And I slipped and like fell on gold for a couple of years. So I realized that. I'm thankful for that. But I don't want to get caught up in that. I don't want to be thinking about how to garner more views or get more likes, or it's just that takes the soul out of what I'm doing. To me, that's extrinsic motivation, and I need intrinsic motivation. I need to like what I'm doing because I like doing it, not because of the results that I get from doing it. So and it's easy to like fall into that mindset, but I try and be conscientious to avoid that.
Right. So then what were your next steps? So you were doing the YouTube route. You decided you wanted to, did you consciously or subconsciously start moving away from it? And
I think it was both.
Okay. Yeah. You kind of started to see it and you're like deciding I'm going to put less effort into that because I'm not bearing the fruit I'm looking for, basically.
I felt it more than saw it. Like just like what I did on a day-to-day basis became less about me doing what I want to do and what I enjoy doing, and me figuring out how to fill that spreadsheet, try and hit those numbers, and as I got more into working with advertisers and stuff, that's what they want to see. They want to see like how many times can you get people to click on this link? Right. Like how many of our products can you sell? And that never felt right to me. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, I will to an extent, but it has to be like organic. It has to be something that I really think is beneficial. I'm not in this for the money. Like there's a lot of other options I could do if that was what I was concerned about. And, so that's kind of the next step for me. I guess I saw and felt that turning into something I didn't want it to be. So I just kind of stopped putting my time and resources into it, and really want to, for the past, that's probably been 4 years now. I just want to focus on being a student. I still feel, it's that, what's the Dunning-Kruger effect? You heard of that?
I haven't.
Or maybe I haven't. I didn't know what it was called.
It's people that the less you know about a subject, the more assured you feel about your knowledge on the subject.
Yeah.
And vice versa. the more you know, the more you know you don't know, I guess.
I think we talk about that. We call it like the mountain of stupidity or something. Like there's a big blip on the line where you first try something and you feel really confident in it just suddenly, and then you fall off Mount Stupid and realize where you are in the hierarchy of knowledge on whatever topic. Okay. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Somebody might come and forge a taper and they're like, this is easy or whatever, or like weld two pieces of metal together. And they're like, oh, this is, but then when you start delving into like, okay, well, let's, you have a cold shut on the end or your weld didn't penetrate or whatever it is. I'm just using these analogies, but when you're introduced to a subject or a topic, you get like this, well, like you said, you get like this giant leap of confidence that you're able to do it. And then if you stick with it long enough, that goes away. And then you realize like you've got a big, you've got a big mountain to climb. Yeah. So, like that's kind of where, I was very headstrong that I guess, success that I felt I got through social media and stuff, gave me a lot of that. I really felt like I was, I knew my stuff and I'm set. And, as the glimmer faded away and I realized I was just, doing these things for views and this and that or whatever, I'm like, well, I'm really not as good as I think I am, as you get more invested into the world. Because when I was doing stuff on YouTube, there wasn't blacksmiths on YouTube. There was hardly anything on there. And then as I got more into forging and saw some of the people out there who don't post on YouTube, who don't have these giant channels, and I see their work, I'm like, wow, I am not good. Like I'm hardly competent. And so much of that, confidence went away, and I feel like I don't have anything to show yet in my head. I mean, I feel like I'm a competent blacksmith, but I'm not. I have so much to learn. So the past, 4 years, that's 4 or 5 years, I have just been focusing on developing my skill and not so much about what I show people. I mean, I have to do some of that. I have to post some things and I have to take some work, but really, if I had $1 million, I would, or maybe 10, I don't know what money's worth today. If I had $10 million, I'd probably want to just disappear for 4 years and take classes and learn and focus on just really, developing my skill set and my approach and all of that. So and I enjoy that. That brings me a lot of satisfaction. Like I really like just finding old, like random, manuscripts or books that aren't popular and just going through and forging things as they suggest. Even if I think I know a better way, it's still good to just be able to do something in a different manner. So
it grows your breadth of experience. And in a field like blacksmithing and welding too, in all of this, right? I mean, woodworking, I'm sure I'm just not a woodworker, but all of this is the experience is basically the final say of your competence. When you can lay out the work that you had in your mind as you saw it consistently, that's where I feel like I would like to get to. I can see it in my mind's eye a heck of a lot faster and a heck of a lot prettier than what I can begin producing. But sitting with it and sitting on it and working and continuing to pursue that exact vision. And the thing that comes along in my experience has been, while I'm trying to attain something, I feel like I learn a lot more because my mind is much more absorbent while I'm focused on that problem to solve. When Andy and I were welding frames and I didn't know anything about welding, I became a student of welding. And because I had a problem to solve, I was just a sponge to that process, and I found it so fulfilling to watch myself walking up that capability stairs, but the motivation was really there because it was in pursuit of a goal, I suppose.
I don't think there's in all of my years of being alive, I don't think there's anything that I can think of that is more satisfying than learning something.
Sure.
Whether it's a new skill or, I mean, it's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
You'd think I'd be smarter.
Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. I mean, I would like to say that it's universal, but if you've been around other people, you know that that's not the case.
I know it's not. Yeah.
I don't know where that comes from. I think it's just the need to. I have a really hard time not being productive. Like, it's not good. I mean, that sounds like it's a brag or something, but it's really not. Like, it's absolutely not. It can be taken too far, and it's detrimental. Because I have a really hard time relaxing without feeling guilt.
Sure.
So I don't know. I feel like it is, even if I'm like sitting down, like I want to be reading a book or something, like it's very hard for me to watch TV or do something where I feel like I'm not somehow bettering myself. And that's not, I don't think that's good. I think it's important to try and have some downtime,
Yeah, of course.
So.
I think personally, I get this feeling like if I can't prove the value of my activity, then I shouldn't do it. And it's like, well, that becomes a problem when you are working 16-hour days consecutively and you're exhausted. It's like, yeah, but I got to keep going because stopping proves I'm not worth it, or I don't know. It's some subconscious ache.
I think that's like a Western society problem, and I do think it's a problem. I genuinely don't think it's healthy.
Sure. I don't think it's healthy either. We're not made for that level of output. We don't have that much to output.
That's the spreadsheet thing that I keep talking about. I mean, if you travel, my wife and I are fortunate enough, like we try and travel at least internationally once a year. And there's like every other country we go to, it's night and day. People don't behave like we do here. Like they are a lot, at least all the places we've gone, and we've gone a lot of places. People are a lot more chill. There's like a genuine happiness and joy that people seem to have when they're not grinding 24/7.
Right.
So,
yeah, we had a guy local to us that he's from Colombia, and he came up here, sold off his other company, and bought like the last industrial forging shop in Indiana. And we were down there talking with him, and he was talking about his parents when they moved up here to visit him. Their comment was, back where we came from, everyone was poor, but we were all happy. Here, everyone is rich beyond belief, and they're all miserable. And
exactly.
what value exchange is actually taking place? And that a thought of mine that I have a lot, that maybe I know that you're quite the reader, quite the prolific reader of important, meaningful texts. One of the things that I can't put my finger on is, what are we pursuing? What are we trying to achieve? What is this sense of pursuit for the next that drives so much of our societal decision making that leads us to basically oblivion at this point? I mean, we're not in a hot spot of like success as we look around our world, or at least our society in the U.S.
No, and pardon the analogy, but I think it's just heaping coal into the fire. Like that's what we're doing with everything, and it all gets burned up. I think there's a big hole in. I can't speak for everybody, but generally, I think there's a big hole in people that we don't know how to fill. So we do it with consumption, and we do it because I think most or a lot of people have a really large ego, and in order to satisfy that, the best means that they can conceive is having more and better, and
proof of their value. It kind of goes back to that same idea. I need to prove that my activity is worth doing, or my breath is worth breathing. And maybe we do that with consumption and creation of nothing. But yeah, interesting. That's definitely what we got on here to talk about. That's for sure. Evan's like, yeah, all right.
You never know. I mean, it's
all connected, right? This is the basis of why you're sitting here across from me today, is because you didn't want to get locked in.
No. And I think, it's a lot of people approach this as an art, which it very well can be.
Right.
And, I feel like people who think that way and appreciate the things that we do probably are of, at least maybe even if they're not of a similar mindset, they can understand where things are coming from and
of course
the value and kind of abstract thought.
Well, I think there's a lot of people looking at someone like you and myself that we're able to break into a full-time path where I'm spending and you're spending your life on your craft. And they're thinking, I don't know how to do that. And so even a story,
I don't know how to do it.
Well, but
I'm doing it, but I don't know how.
Right. You don't have to tell anybody how to do it. All you have to do is share how you've done it thus far. Because my story was similar, but very different. I worked until 2 a.m. I worked a full-time shift, went out to the shop, worked from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. every night, Monday through Friday. Took the weekends off so that I could just catch up, and then went back to it. And that's what Andy and I both did. And we built coal on top of our sleeplessness, essentially. And when, like you said, if I think back to that time, if I had to start over today, I don't know if I have the natural drive that pushed me through.
Yeah.
And a willingness to sacrifice things that, like family, that I would now consider way too important. I would never put my work on a level of pedestal that it took initially to get that ball rolled up the hill. Yeah. And so the value proposition doesn't work for my mind, at least today. But I think what I love to hear, do you listen to the podcast, How I Built This?
I have in the past.
Okay.
I haven't listened to it for a couple of years, but yeah, I listen to a lot of it.
There's some stories that are, I went out and just asked for $1 billion and I got it and I started this company. It's not great. And then there's other people that are like now I'm going to forget. The Greek yogurt, the first manufacturer of Greek yogurt in the United States was the son of immigrant sheep herders from like Greece. And his story of coming to America, he came here on a scholarship, spent the whole scholarship, couldn't continue to pay for his classes, ended up on a farm of one of his college professors that she just had out in the Catskill Mountains or something. And slowly, step by step, share. I mean, that story is incredible. And there's only one like it. And I think the behind the scenes of how you walked your way out of the situation that by principle you knew was wrong, right? And I know people feel that way. I felt that way in the past. It's what gave me the motivation to run away from it full bore and try to do something with my own hands. And I think there's a lot of resonance with that. But I also think that it's not enough to just replace a consumption mindset or I'm going to prove my worth by the work of my own hands rather than the work of someone's hands. I still think there's another layer of depth that can be perceived of this is not my total identity and I have worth and I can bring that into the sense of rest and balance and I'm a whole person. It's why you travel. You want to experience, and it's not just the work of your hands that gives you value. It's you as a human being, right?
Yeah.
There's an intrinsic nature there. So anyway, I think the whole thing's fun. Basically what I'm trying to say.
It is, yeah. I mean, I think it is different for every person. Like, I think that anybody who listens to something like this or somebody who listens to those kind of podcasts with a pen and paper and takes notes and thinks this is how I have to do it. I think that's, I don't want to say that's wrong, but the reason that things like this, I think, work for some people is because they're compelled to do it. because it's what they want to do. And
Sure.
if you're trying to emulate if you think that, I think it's incorrect to think that success comes from emulating successful people.
Sure.
I think success comes from following your own compass, like whatever it is that drives you. That is what's going to fuel those 2 a.m., 3 a.m. nights.
Yes.
Because you can't not do it, because if there's one thing you're going to do, this is it.
Right.
And if you're trying to force that, then you're probably not going to attack it with the same like volition,
Right.
I think.
How could you?
So
I don't.
if I wanted to make yogurt instead of this, I probably would have failed 5 years ago, because I like yogurt, but I don't care that much about yogurt. I think it's great that somebody else did it.
Sure.
I enjoy Greek yogurt, but it's not my calling.
Right.
So, and fortunately that's, not everybody's the same. So,
so let's catch up to today. How would you describe your work at this moment? What are you doing other than, like you said, spending this time to nurture and develop your capabilities, your skill set, your experiences? How would you describe what your work life is like today?
Well, today and like this, last year was the craziest year of my life.
Really?
In a good way. Like it's all positive, but it's like, I don't know. It's in my nature to like always complain about everything, no matter how good it is. And last year was really good, so I have a lot to complain about. I was so busy. It was a wonderful year, but it just went by like, it feels like a 2-week period. Right. Yeah. So, and I didn't have time to really do what my drive is now is, like I said, is to learn. I want those days where I can just go into the shop, open up a book and work through procedures and technical skills. That's really what I'm trying to build up. Last year I got into the 6-week forging focus program at the Center for Metal Arts, which was unbelievable. I feel like I learned, 2 years of knowledge in 6 weeks. I mean, we were there 8-10 hours a day, every day of the week. So it was incredible. Yeah. But I had a product that I launched earlier this year that's been very successful, and that's kept me incredibly busy. We had we went to Scotland last year, which was great. What else did I do? I don't know. I've had a lot of commission works and stuff. So it's all positive things, and I'm very grateful for it. I just wish that I could get like an extra couple hours out of every day to like, to do my stuff. So it's, and this year's kind of looking to be the same. I've got a big charity thing that I do coming up here. Got some classes I'm teaching. I'm trying to get a couple of classes here as well that I'm going to teach or host. We've got some more travel coming up, and I've got a really big commission for the city here that I got to start working on in a few months. And
awesome.
All really good stuff.
How are you getting that stuff now that you've moved away from YouTube? Is it word of mouth? Or are you just sharing your information locally? Like what are you finding to be the path?
I'm trying to remember how this came about. I'm trying to remember. How did I get in touch with this lady? So she does this sculpture commission that I'm going to be doing. There's this lady that runs like a local public park, and they do like an event every year, and I've like set up and like done some little forging stuff, like demos and stuff during it's like a little fair. And I'm trying to think what else I've done. So I honestly can't remember how it came about. It's just some organic thing. But so working with her, she got this grant money for this public sculpture. So I designed something, and I'm going to be kind of getting started on that here soon.
That's awesome.
I've done little to no advertising. I kind of break it down. You have like your social media stuff, and then you have like your local area and that sort of thing. I'm not on Google, although they call me like 5 times a week and want me to like, it's so weird. I had my shop, somehow it got on Google in like Florida when I lived there.
Yeah.
And I moved and they won't let me relocate the address.
Nope.
And they call me and ask me to pay them to have it active. I'm like, I'm not going to pay you to activate my link in a state that I don't live in. I'm like, can we change it here to where I actually live? Right. And they're like, no. Yeah. I'm like, why not? So
can't you go in and you can suggest an edit, and if they approve it, but that hasn't changed it.
And then they were calling me forever. Like, so when I was in Florida, they were calling me asking for money all the time, and I'm like, no, I don't care. like, don't you want more business? I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. Like it's really strange. So I just gave up. Like I just closed. I just wrote closed on it. So if it comes up anywhere, it just says that I'm out of business until, I don't know. I need to address that one of these days. Yeah. I have some friends in like other places in Ohio that are like very, I don't want to say like amateur, but they're very like hobbyist blacksmiths, and they're on Google and they're like, they tell me they get messages all the time for stuff.
Interesting.
And I'm like, maybe I should do that one of these days.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. So would you say now you prefer that local relationship when you take a commission, or does it not really bother you? You're excited to kind of work with whoever's.
I like it. I really want to do more of that. I've done some work for, there's like a local brewery that's really cool, and they have a really nice establishment here. I've been doing work for them. I'm doing a really big fire screen for them. It's like a 3-panel fire screen. They have this massive fireplace.
Oh yeah.
I really like that. It just feels easy. Yeah. And like, I don't feel like I have to show it off. Like I don't have to like edit videos, and I was thinking about it the other day, and one of the main reasons I stopped like posting a whole bunch on like social media and stuff is because I really like to listen to music when I'm in the shop. And now that everything gets recorded on the cell phone, I can't stop. I can't stand pausing my music to record a video. Like it just totally kills the mood. Like back when it was on a camera, I could just set it wherever, hit record, and like something about like having audio chop in and out, like while I'm trying to record a video, is like the most frustrating thing in the world for me. So, that's a huge reason I don't put out more videos these days. It's just because I don't want
to turn your music off.
I don't want to turn my music off.
Have you thought about getting a second phone?
Yeah, but no, I hate my first one. Just, I don't need 2 of them. I think so. Somebody told me that there's like a new camera coming out, or that is out, that's that records in the proper format and stuff. Like, I want to work more than I what's the word? Than I edit, or I only have so much attention to give, and if I have to like, I can only carve off like so much out of what I'm working on, because there's nothing worse for me than like when you're excited and you're in the mood and you just want to like see this next thing come to fruition, and like it's hot and you're like, oh, I really want to get this on camera. So you got to like shut down your Forge or pull it out and let it scale up, and then move your camera around and be like, no, if it's a little bit higher, it needs a little bit more light here. And I can't, I'd just rather just, and then by the time it's all over, like you got a third as much work done and you still have a video that could have been better. It's like, that's, I just don't like compromising.
Worst of both worlds at that point.
Yeah. So maybe someday, like if I can make the process easy and, if I can make it easy enough and not intimidating, cause I get really caught up on details, like in a very bad way, to where I feel like I can't do anything unless it's as good as it could possibly be, which is makes you just not get anything done because you get so much anxiety about doing everything perfectly that nothing happens.
Right.
So like those are my demons that I have to battle with. So my solution is to just not play that game.
Sure. So in your work, you've got 2 classes with us this year. The first one that's coming up is a couples rose forging class. And I know that came to mind to me because I know you've done, how many roses have you done at this point? And you can tell us a little bit about why you do the roses.
I have no idea how many I've done. I would say well over 1,000, easily. It's something I've been doing for a long time. It was one of the first things I forged. I think I put a video out on it probably like 9 years ago. And then
really
they kind of started popping up all over the place. So which is cool. But I've been doing them for a long time. And then I was just driving somewhere, and it was around Valentine's Day because they naturally always sell a lot of them around Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And I heard, it was just like some radio show, and I think Outkast was on there, or Everlast, not Outkast. And he'd mentioned something about, he had a song called 65 Roses. And I was like, weird. I'm forging roses right now. And, he was talking about how it's like a synonym for people with cystic fibrosis.
Okay.
And I was like, it'd be kind of cool to like donate a portion of these for charity or something. And, that was that. And eventually, I think the year after that, it got on the news, and then it's just kind of like turned into a big thing. And last year we raised over $7,000 to donate to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
Wow. So
that's
awesome.
Yeah. So
that's kind of intense.
It's something that, what's that?
It's kind of intense. I mean,
yeah,
how many?
It's all, last year I was from January to like March. It was all I did was forge roses.
Yeah. Right.
All day, every day. So it's a big undertaking. But yeah, it's neat to be able to do. And honestly, like, it wasn't something that I set out from the start, but I think it's been really good for my business because it puts me in contact with a network of people outside of our normal realm.
Right.
And it's a cause, and it's been good in ways that I never even imagined starting out. So, and I make a little bit of money off of them. I don't donate I couldn't afford to donate every penny that I make, but I do donate $20 from everyone to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So,
that's awesome. That's really cool. Well, I'm super excited to have the class here, and I have never forged a rose. I've forged flower-shaped objects, but I've never forged a rose. So I am super excited to see that.
It's kind of a hybrid. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can forge a rose, and like if you want to get hoity-toity, like a fully forged blacksmith rose is a whole different animal. This is something that I came up with because I need to make. I do want them to be nice and have, be a high quality, good looking item, but I also can't afford to, forge every single one out of a, 3-inch block of metal. Like I can't do that. I could make, so it's kind of the best. I think I don't like the word economical because it's not cheap. It's just, it's a good economical compromise between what I can produce and, quality, and it's distinct from a lot of the other ones out there, which I think a lot of people like. So,
So within the class, what kinds of techniques are we going to be using? What kind of, is this a riveted together rose? What are the processes going to look like?
It could be, the way I normally do them, being is that I've made, 1,000 plus of them. I feel like I've really gotten the process down. And for I don't want to say intro class, but it's, it's something that's, I don't think anybody should be too intimidated by. I think it's a great project because it involves a lot of fundamental skills, but it's still putting them together in a way that's might be different to people who have some forging experience. You start off, we'll use 1/4 inch round stock. We'll forge a taper on that, and then texturing. I should have brought one in here. I didn't even think about it. Texturing the stem and putting kind of making it organic so that it doesn't just look like a round chunk of metal. So we'll forge a kind of an organic texture into that. I like doing kind of little spirally almost stems, but so there's some room for what's the word I'm looking for?
Creative license.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the stem. And then I like doing, taking a MIG welder and doing some little tiny tack welds on the sides to kind of resemble thorns. So, if you have enough standoff, you can kind of get thornish looking things on there.
Yeah.
That's something I haven't seen anybody else do yet, but, I like doing that. And then for the leaf blanks, I'll show people how I cut them out. Cause I used to do that. I used to, order sheets of 18-inch, cold roll and then just cut them all out and drill them. And that's fine if you're doing a couple of them, but when it's grown so much that I have a friend that cuts them out for me, and they still need to be trimmed up a little bit, but it does 90% of the work. Yeah. So I'll show everybody how I do it from bare metal just so that they can see it. Yeah. But we'll probably start with the ones that are already cut out. It's not hard. It's just cutting out, 18 gauge metal with tin snips. It doesn't take long before your hand cramps up. So starting out with them 90% done is a lot easier. Yeah. And then we'll texture those, put those over the taper that we forged, and then we'll weld them on. Before we do that, actually, I should say we'll texture the leaves and stuff and give them some life, and then weld them on and use a torch to kind of bend and curl and stylize them. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they look amazing. I think that's really the differentiator. Using phrases like this is an economic way to do it without seeing it can sound like it's less nice. But a lot of the reason that you're doing it the way that you're doing it is because ultimately the final form is that much more consistently beautiful, right? I mean, some of the forging techniques, years ago, there was a website called beautiful.iron.com, and he released a Forged Rose DVD. And they started with, like you said, 3-inch round. They drew it down and pulled out the stem. Then the top, they hot cut it most of the way through and then cut individual petals out and and it was that's awesome. But ultimately, it took them several days of labor.
Yeah,
it's extremely, and the end result, the form of it, right? Because it needs to look beautiful. I'd argue yours, after having made 1,000, will probably be just as, if not more, beautiful. And you bring a team of people in a shop as a beginner class to forge something like this, it needs to be broken down into simple components. So that's great.
I do enjoy, I try and be as much of a purist as I can afford to be. And it's different. I mean, it's different 100 years. If you go back in time 150 years ago and show people a MIG welder, blacksmiths would have gone out of business 50 years earlier than they did. Right. Or 300 years ago. They would have been, I do enjoy the process though, even though it's not I feel like it's the whole journey, not the destination thing. Sure. But you do, unfortunately, at least where I'm at, I do have to make compromises sometime. As much as I would love to make, take 2 days to make a rose. I couldn't sell. I couldn't sell it.
$1,000 rose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. Maybe someday. But
so secondly, your class in June is going to be a leather stool class. So tell me about the leather working, because I know you've done leather working in a lot of different capacities over the last few years. You've also done furniture. You said in the beginning you started out making some furniture. And so is this kind of a pairing of those those crafts together, or what motivated you to go that route?
Yeah, it's I can't even remember. You know, it's funny because I have in the shop, I have the prototype that I made. I was working with this denim company in Richmond, Virginia. And I had this idea, like I thought like, I'll pair up with some of these workwear companies and stuff. And like, maybe we can do some work swap stuff. And we did for a while. We just both got so busy, but, I said, well, maybe I could like design like a folding, like kind of camp stool thing that's forged, and I'll send it to you guys, and you guys could like do a cool, like, raw denim top or something for it.
Yeah.
Since I don't work with raw denim as a material, I'm like, I have some leather, and I built a prototype, and then I made a fancier one, and I sent it to them, and they're like, this is so cool. We don't want to put denim on it. Like, just do these in leather. And, that was like 2 years ago.
Okay.
I haven't done it. I haven't had time. I still have the prototype. I mean, we're on good terms. There's like no pressure.
Right.
I've been, like I said, last year, like to me, those are the projects that I love more than anything. My favorite thing to do is to like find companies and be like, let's design something cool for you to sell.
Yeah.
And like, I'll get your touch mark, I'll stamp it on there, send it to you. And like, and we can just keep up. I'll just like check in on you once every couple months, and I'll restock you. And like, that's my goal, is to have like 4 or 5 of these people that I can just do that with. And that'll be like me paying my bills. And then hopefully I can knock that out in the first couple of weeks of the month, and then have the last 2 weeks to myself to, you know, practice, I don't know, stuff. So, but yeah, so that's kind of how that came about. And every time somebody like everybody comments on it, the little prototype leather stool that I have, it's super convenient. It's nothing fancy. It's really simple.
Yeah. Is it kind of like a fishing, like a two?
It's like like the, the tension on the top keeps it.
And it's kind of like a fishing, like my grandma had an upholsteried version, or my grandma upholstered it for him. Little fishing stool like that, like fold up like that, and then it would open and sit down. And I loved that thing, but I got too heavy.
It's really cool. I brought it with me when I was at CMA because I didn't have enough chairs, and like even Pat was like, "Dude, make me one of those. I'll trade you something." So that's on my list too. I just need time. But it's a cool little project. I think it'll be a fun class because nothing is too difficult, but it's not. It's a lot of interesting ways of combining skills. I mean, there's kind of creating the cross section of the legs from round stock, but you need some flat surfaces to have rivet faces on. There's some punching, drifting, forging some tenons. So it depends. I don't know. I mean, one person's beginner is another person's advanced. So I never know what to call anything. So I'd say it's an intermediate project. If you're a beginner and you have basic hammer skills, you'll probably be okay. And it's very basic leather work, really heavy, like, 9-10 ounce leather, and pretty much just cutting it, dyeing it, and riveting stuff together, which is, there's incredibly talented leather workers out there, but you don't have to be incredibly talented to do a lot of basic leather working. It's very, it's very
approachable medium.
Yes, it really is.
Yeah.
And you can get as advanced as you want, but a lot of the stuff out there is very basic, and it's just nice to have somebody to be able to kind of show you, to take the sting out of it, because it's really pretty easy if you know what you're doing.
Right. No, that sounds super awesome. And that one is in June 14th and 15th.
Yep.
So that'll be a really slick class.
That one should be a lot of fun.
I mean, that sounds like maybe we should have you stay a couple days extra and make some more stools, because I could use some stools around the shop.
Could be done.
Have you done any of the like Brian Brazil style tool trays that operate like they fold out and the top sits down on them, or anything like that?
I've seen those. I haven't made one of those.
Okay. Yeah.
But it
seems like a
similar-ish type thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Just basic. It's really basic joinery. Is the is the basic technique in blacksmithing that gets utilized in that. So punching, drifting, and forging tenons, that's something that I do almost every day if I'm forging stuff. So
right. Yeah. Well, Zack, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us today about yourself, about your processes, anything that you would like us to know about you? And then tell us where we can find out more about you.
Man, I feel like I should have like something to say. Let's see. I'm just drag out this awkward silence. How about that? No, I can't think of anything in particular. If anybody has any questions or anything, Instagram is probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Okay. And that's at ZH Fabrications.
Correct.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I do have a website. It's zhfabrications.com.
Beautiful. And that log thing, is that also leather?
Yes. The log rack with
that's super cool.
The tote, the leather tote that sits in there. Yeah.
Oh, so you can take that out and go fill it and then bring it back in?
The whole premise.
Oh my gosh. I could genuinely use one of those.
I am forging one as we speak. I had somebody order one right in the middle of this this big fire rack or fire grill commission that I'm doing for this brewery. Like right in the middle of it, somebody ordered one. And I have on my site, because normally I'm not, I guess I am. I don't know. In my head, I'm never as busy as I really am. So I'm like, I'll have this, I'm like, this will ship within a month or something.
Right.
And somebody ordered it right in the middle of like this giant commission. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
But also really happy. So
right. Because you get to make something. I mean, that's flipping awesome. Is
it's
that
a fun,
your design? Or did you see that somewhere? That's awesome, man. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's super cool.
I really like design. Like, I read a lot of books on design and stuff. I haven't really done a whole lot of designing of my own stuff yet, but someday whenever I feel like I have the time and skill set to do into it, it's something I enjoy thinking about. Yeah.
Well, and as you explore and learn, just gives you tools in the toolbox to think outside the box that you're currently in of what's possible, what's capable to be done in steel, and then adding all your other medias to that. Well, Zack, I don't want to drag this out and take any more of your time. I know you're a busy man and you have a big fire screen to make, so I'll let you back to it. Thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Really excited to get you in the shop and to run these classes. It's going to be a blast. So super looking forward to it. And this has been an absolute pleasure, sir.
Thank you. Likewise.
All right. Au revoir. Is that okay? Is that a good ending? Fade out. Beautiful. Thanks, Zack. You have a good day.
Yeah.